Imagine a moment that will change your perception of reality forever. Not a year from now, not tomorrow, right now. What I'm about to share with you in the next 30 minutes will turn your world upside down. This isn't another motivational talk. It's an ancient practice that has transformed the lives of people for centuries, from Roman emperors to modern-day leaders. Picture this. You're standing in your kitchen on an ordinary morning, coffee in hand, scrolling through your phone. Everything feels routine, perhaps even a bit mundane. Now, imagine that this ordinary moment is actually your last chance to experience everything exactly as it is. The warmth of the cup in your hands, the familiar sounds of your home, the knowledge that your loved ones are just a phone call away. All of this could vanish in an instant. How does this simple morning transform when you truly grasp its impermanence? This isn't an exercise in pessimism or anxiety. What I've just described is one of the most powerful techniques in Stoic philosophy, a practice that the ancient Romans called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of adversity. While our modern world constantly pushes us toward endless positivity and manifestation, the Stoics discovered something paradoxical. The path to profound appreciation and unshakable peace often begins with contemplating loss. Think about the last time you recovered from an illness. Remember that first day when you could breathe clearly again, when your energy returned, when simple tasks no longer felt overwhelming. In that moment, health wasn't just a given, it was a gift. That heightened appreciation, that intense gratitude, that's what negative visualization can give us, but without having to actually experience the loss first. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote in his personal journals, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." But he didn't arrive at this appreciation through blind optimism. He reached it by regularly contemplating the fragility of everything he held dear. In today's episode, we're diving deep into this counterintuitive practice. We'll explore why deliberately imagining worst-case scenarios might be the key to living your best life. We'll look at how this ancient technique can transform modern challenges, from career uncertainty to relationship fears, from health anxiety to the everyday stress of our fast-paced world. You'll learn not just the philosophy behind this practice, but specific, actionable techniques for implementing it in your daily life. We'll explore advanced visualization methods that can strengthen your psychological immune system, practical exercises that can turn catastrophic thinking into a tool for growth, and real-world applications that can help you find peace in an increasingly uncertain world. But I warn you, this isn't another feel-good quick fix. What we're about to explore might initially feel uncomfortable, even challenging. That's exactly the point. Just as a vaccine works by introducing a small amount of a pathogen to build immunity, negative visualization works by intentionally exploring our fears to build resilience. Are you ready to discover how contemplating loss can lead to unprecedented appreciation? How facing your fears head-on can bring unexpected peace? How ancient wisdom can transform your modern life? Let's begin this journey together, starting with the fundamental principles of this powerful practice. When Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, lost his entire fortune in a shipwreck, he didn't see it as the end of his world. Instead, standing on the shores of Athens, watching the remnants of his wealth sink into the Mediterranean, he uttered words that would shape philosophical thought for millennia. "Fortune leads the willing and drags the unwilling." That moment of devastating loss became the catalyst for one of history's most powerful philosophical traditions. But why does loss hold such transformative power? The answer lies in a peculiar quirk of human psychology. We never value something more deeply than when we realize it could be taken from us. Think about your most precious memories. That last conversation with a loved one before they passed away. That final summer of childhood before everything changed. Those moments shine so brightly in our memory, precisely because we know they can never be repeated. Premeditatio Malorum takes this natural human tendency and transforms it into a deliberate practice. But let's be clear about what this isn't. This isn't about dwelling in anxiety or cultivating pessimism. Instead, think of it as a form of psychological immunization. Just as a vaccine introduces a small amount of a pathogen to build immunity, negative visualization introduces controlled doses of loss awareness to build emotional resilience. Consider this. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is experiencing their last conversation with a loved one without knowing it. Someone is enjoying their final day of perfect health before receiving life-changing news. Someone is living their last normal day before an unexpected event transforms their world forever. This isn't meant to frighten you. It's meant to wake you up to the extraordinary preciousness of ordinary moments. Epictetus, who began life as a slave and ended it as one of history's greatest philosophers, taught his students to practice this awareness daily. When you kiss your child goodnight, he advised, whisper to yourself that they may not wake up tomorrow. Shocking? Perhaps. But those who followed his advice reported something remarkable. Rather than increasing their anxiety, this practice transformed every interaction with their children into something precious, meaningful, and fully appreciated. Think about your own life for a moment. The cup of coffee you barely taste on your rush to work. The conversation with your partner you half listen to while scrolling through your phone. The beauty of a sunrise you've stopped noticing because it happens every day. What if you could experience these moments with the same intensity as if they were your last? This is where the true power of negative visualization reveals itself. It's not about imagining loss for loss's sake. It's about using the contemplation of loss as a doorway to profound appreciation. When we truly internalize the temporary nature of everything we have, our relationships, our health, our abilities, even our very lives, we gain access to a level of gratitude and presence that's almost impossible to achieve any other way. But here's the crucial distinction that separates productive negative visualization from unproductive anxiety: control. When we practice Premeditatio Malorum, we choose when and how to contemplate loss. We maintain agency over the exercise. Unlike anxiety, which often feels like it's happening to us, this is a deliberate practice we engage in on our own terms. As we move forward into the more advanced techniques of this practice, remember this fundamental truth. The goal isn't to live in fear of loss, but to use the awareness of impermanence as a tool for living more fully, more gratefully, and more intentionally in the present moment. In the next section, we'll explore exactly how to implement these principles in your daily life, transforming this philosophical concept into a practical tool for personal growth. Let me take you to ancient Rome for a moment. Picture Seneca, one of history's greatest Stoic teachers, sitting down to dinner in his lavish villa. Despite his immense wealth, he regularly ate the simplest meals, slept on a hard floor, and wore common clothes. Why would one of Rome's richest men choose to live like a pauper? Because he understood something profound about human nature. Our fear of loss often causes more suffering than loss itself. This brings us to our first practical technique of negative visualization: voluntary discomfort. But before you recoil at the thought, understand that we're not talking about unnecessary suffering. Instead, Imagine it as a form of emotional weightlifting. Just as an athlete builds physical strength through controlled stress, we build psychological resilience through controlled exposure to challenging situations. Start small. Next time you're caught in traffic, instead of immediately reaching for your phone or radio, sit with the discomfort. Feel the urge to distract yourself, to escape the moment. Now transform this mundane frustration into a training ground for resilience. Ask yourself, what if this delay is preparing me for a greater challenge ahead? What strength am I building right now? But here's where most people get it wrong. They treat negative visualization like a one-time emergency drill. The real power lies in making it a daily practice, weaving it into the fabric of your routine. When you kiss your partner goodbye in the morning, take a breath and acknowledge that this moment, like all moments, is precious and unrepeatable. When you tuck your children into bed, allow yourself to feel the profound gift of their presence, knowing that nothing in this life is guaranteed. Think of it like developing a new sense, a kind of emotional peripheral vision. Just as a skilled driver maintains awareness of potential hazards while staying focused on the road ahead, you'll learn to hold both appreciation and awareness of impermanence in your consciousness simultaneously. This isn't about living in fear. It's about living in full awareness of life's precious fragility. Let me share a personal revelation that transformed my understanding of this practice. Years ago, I was rushing through my morning routine, irritated by my aging father's slow pace as we prepared to leave the house. In that moment of frustration, I forced myself to pause and practice Premeditatio Malorum. I imagined a future morning without him there. The silence where his slow shuffling used to be, the absence of his gentle reminders to take my keys. That simple moment of visualization shattered my irritation and replaced it with profound gratitude. This is the paradox at the heart of negative visualization. By contemplating loss, we don't increase our suffering, we enhance our capacity for joy. When we truly internalize the temporary nature of everything we have, every moment becomes an opportunity for deep appreciation. Every inconvenience becomes a reminder of our resilience. Every challenge becomes a chance to practice wisdom. But remember, this practice requires balance. We're not aiming to live in constant contemplation of loss, but rather to use these moments of reflection strategically, like a sculptor carefully chipping away at stone to reveal the beauty within. Too much focus on potential loss can paralyze us. Too little can leave us unprepared and unappreciative. As we transition into our next section, where we'll explore specific scenarios and advanced techniques, hold on to this essential truth. The goal of negative visualization isn't to make you fear loss, but to help you love life more deeply through the awareness of its impermanence. Have you ever noticed how a shadow can reveal details about an object that bright light obscures? There's a similar paradox in the practice of negative visualization. By looking into the darkness of our fears, we often see the contours of our lives more clearly than ever before. Let me share a story that changed my entire perspective on this practice. Last winter, during a particularly severe storm, my entire neighborhood lost power for 3 days. As I sat in the darkness that first night, wrapped in blankets and watching my phone battery slowly die, something extraordinary happened. The very circumstances I had mentally practiced through negative visualization were unfolding in real time. But instead of panic, I felt an almost surreal sense of calm. Why? Because I had already visited this place in my mind countless times before. This is the hidden power of Premeditatio Malorum. It transforms the theoretical into the practical, the feared into the familiar. Think of it as mental rehearsal, for life's inevitable challenges. Just as an actor rehearses their lines before stepping onto stage, we can rehearse our response to adversity before it strikes. But here's the crucial difference. While an actor knows exactly what lines are coming, life rarely provides us with such certainty. Let's dive deeper into this practice with an exercise I want you to try right now, wherever you are. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your smartphone suddenly dies and you discover it's completely unrecoverable. All your photos, contacts, messages, gone forever. Feel the initial wave of panic. Now watch that panic rise and fall like a wave. Ask yourself, what remains when this digital extension of yourself disappears? What opportunities might this loss create? This isn't just philosophical speculation. In ancient Rome, Seneca advised his students to regularly practice living with less than they had. Not from a place of deprivation, but from a position of strength. Set aside some days, he wrote, in which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with rough and coarse clothing, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition that I feared? But here's where modern practitioners often misunderstand this technique. The goal isn't to become desensitized to loss or to eliminate emotional responses altogether. Instead, think of it as developing emotional literacy, learning to read and understand your fears without being consumed by them. When we practice negative visualization regularly, we begin to see our fears for what they truly are. Not walls that confine us, but shadows that can guide us toward greater appreciation and resilience. Consider this. Every time you say goodbye to someone you love, there's an unspoken truth hovering in the air. This could be the last time. Most of us push this awareness away, finding it too painful to contemplate. But what if, instead of turning away from this reality, we learn to use it as a lens through which to view our relationships? Not with paralyzing anxiety, but with an acute appreciation that transforms every interaction into something precious. This is the transformative power of negative visualization. It doesn't just prepare us for loss, it teaches us to live more fully in the present moment. By contemplating the impermanence of everything we hold dear, we learn to hold it more tenderly, more consciously, more completely. Let me tell you about a moment that shattered my understanding of strength. I was standing in a hospital corridor, watching a father say goodbye to his daughter before her surgery. Instead of breaking down, he smiled, told her a joke, and squeezed her hand. Later, I saw him alone, allowing himself just 5 minutes of tears before returning to her room, his smile back in place. That wasn't weakness. It was negative visualization in its most raw and powerful form. Think about the ancient Spartans for a moment. Before every battle, they would polish their shields and comb their hair, not from vanity, but as a deliberate practice of facing mortality with dignity. They understood something profound that we've largely forgotten. True strength isn't about avoiding fear, but about dancing with it, understanding it, using it as fuel for courage. This brings us to the advanced practice of what I call strategic vulnerability. Imagine your mind as a fortress. Most people try to build impenetrable walls, thinking that's what strength looks like. But here's the paradox. The truly impenetrable fortress isn't the one with the thickest walls, but the one that can withstand any breach because it's prepared for every possibility. Let me guide you through a profound exercise that changed my entire approach to resilience. Close your eyes and imagine your greatest current fear. Perhaps it's losing your job, your relationship ending, or a health scare. Now, instead of pushing that fear away, we're going to walk straight into it. Like walking into a storm. Feel the wind of that fear on your face. What's the absolute worst that could happen? Sit with that for a moment. But here's where we pivot. Imagine yourself surviving it. Not just surviving, but emerging transformed. This isn't toxic positivity or cheap optimism. This is the warrior's mindset that the Stoics taught. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Consider the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, making the cracks not just visible, but beautiful. This is what happens when we practice advanced negative visualization. We don't just prepare for breaks. We learn to see how those potential breaks might make us stronger, more beautiful, more human. Let me share a technique I call the time traveler's meditation. Imagine yourself 5 years in the future, looking back at this exact moment. What would that future self want you to know about the challenges you're facing now? What wisdom would they share about the very things you're most afraid of losing? This isn't just an exercise in perspective. It's a way of accessing the wisdom you already have, but might be too close to see. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate fear. That would be both impossible and unwise. The goal is to develop what the Stoics called the inner citadel, a core of calm certainty that can withstand any storm because it has already rehearsed every possible scenario. This isn't about becoming hard or cold. It's about becoming so deeply resilient that you can remain soft, compassionate, and fully engaged with life, no matter what comes your way. In our hyper-connected world, the practice of negative visualization takes on new dimensions and unprecedented relevance. Imagine your social media feed suddenly falling silent, your digital connections evaporating into the ether. For many of us, this scenario triggers an almost visceral anxiety. But within this modern fear lies an ancient opportunity for growth. Consider how we navigate our relationships through screens and algorithms. We're more connected than ever, yet paradoxically, more afraid of genuine loss and disconnection. I witnessed this firsthand during a global platform outage, watching people around me spiral into panic over temporarily losing access to their digital lives. But those who practiced negative visualization found themselves strangely peaceful, even grateful for the forced pause. The Stoics never encountered Instagram anxiety or Zoom fatigue, but their wisdom transcends technological epochs. When Epictetus advised us to contemplate the loss of what we love, he was teaching a universal truth about attachment and appreciation. In our modern context, this might mean practicing digital detachment, not to reject technology, but to maintain our sovereignty over it. Think about your closest relationships. In our rush to capture every moment, share every experience, and maintain constant connection, we often miss the profound beauty of simple presence. Try this. During your next meaningful conversation, imagine it's the last time you'll ever speak with this person. Notice how your attention shifts, how the usual distractions fade away, how every word becomes precious. But here's the crucial insight for our modern age. Negative visualization isn't about rejecting progress or living in fear of technological dependency. Instead, it's about maintaining perspective in a world that increasingly pulls us away from our center. When we practice contemplating the loss of our digital conveniences, our constant connections, our curated online identities, we paradoxically become more capable of using these tools mindfully and purposefully. The key is to treat every technological convenience, every relationship, every moment of connection, both digital and physical, as a temporary gift rather than a permanent right. This perspective transforms our relationship with modern life's challenges, turning potential sources of anxiety into opportunities for practicing presence and appreciation. As we conclude our deep dive into negative visualization, remember that what we've explored today isn't just a philosophical concept, it's a transformative practice that has the power to revolutionize every aspect of your existence. The ancient Stoics weren't just teaching techniques, they were offering us a pathway to a life of unprecedented richness and depth. Think back to where we started, that simple morning moment, transformed by the awareness of impermanence. Now you understand that this isn't about dwelling in darkness, but about letting that darkness illuminate the profound beauty of your everyday life. Every time you practice negative visualization, you're not just preparing for adversity, you're training yourself to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. The practice we've explored isn't a destination, but a journey, one that grows richer and more nuanced with time. Some days, you'll find yourself naturally applying these principles, feeling the strength they provide. Other days, you might struggle, and that's not just okay, it's part of the process. Remember, even Marcus Aurelius, who wrote extensively about these practices, had to remind himself of them daily. As you move forward from this episode, I encourage you to start small. Choose one aspect of your life, perhaps your morning routine, a relationship, or a daily convenience, and practice seeing it through the lens of impermanence. Notice how this awareness changes not just your appreciation, but the very quality of your experience. The power of negative visualization lies not in its complexity, but in its simplicity. It requires no special equipment, no specific location, no perfect circumstances. It only asks for your willingness to look deeply at your life and to embrace both its fragility and its magnificence. Remember, resilience isn't about becoming hard or impenetrable. It's about developing the flexibility to bend without breaking, to face life's challenges not with fear, but with wisdom and grace. In the words of Epictetus, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. If you found today's journey into Stoic wisdom transformative, you're just scratching the surface of what's possible. Our next episode will explore another powerful Stoic practice that builds directly on what you've learned today: the art of voluntary discomfort. You won't want to miss how this practice can revolutionize your approach to life's challenges. For those new to our community, I invite you to begin your journey through our first season, where we lay the foundational principles that make advanced practices like negative visualization even more powerful. Each episode builds upon the last, creating a comprehensive framework for personal transformation. If you're already a regular viewer, you know that this is more than just content. It's a path to profound personal transformation. Share your experiences with negative visualization in the comments below. Your insights might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to join us on this continuing journey of Stoic discovery. Each week, we're not just learning about wisdom, we're bringing it to life in our modern world.